ask you about the Riyadh Comedy Festival because, so people don't know, a lot of, major A-list comedians are accepting money from the Saudi government, who brought you previously the dismemberment of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, the imprisonment and killing of a great deal of domestic Saudi human rights activists, and also possibly a little bit 9/11. And people like Louis C.K., Aziz Ansari, Pete Davidson, Bill Burr, which is kind of a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, everyone's bummed about it, yeah.
He's anti-establishment, doesn't like the powerful and the rich. How much do you think he got? A lot.
Oh, I'm sure. The numbers that I've heard floated at the top were like 1.6 million, and I would imagine easily that, if not more. Because I also think if someone like him dropped out, it would maybe make some underneath him feel comfortable to drop out as well. It's unfortunate. It's all unfortunate. Louis C.K.'s doing it. I think it's the worst thing he's ever done. And it makes me uncomfortable because I just go, like, clearly comedy has become so much more powerful in the last decade in a way where these are new ethical questions. I don't think George Carlin would have ever performed at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, but he also was never asked. These comedians used to not enter this sphere of influence. And now, because of podcasting and the fact that comedians were kind of on the front end of that, and social media has just allowed our voices to expand, there's new questions about what are we? What is our role in America, let alone globally? You know, it is complicated. I've performed in places whose governments I didn't align with. However, I do think you can make distinctions, and the distinction should be made that the government is funding this. A government that, you know, has this history of human rights abuses, that an organization, I forget which human rights organization, called on the comedians, please don't do this. And also a lot of comedians these days have engaged in politics, have engaged in conversations about free speech and what a government should do. And the question is, can you maintain that comedic authority when you are selling out so easily for a very powerful government, or having the president on your podcast? I think these are all kind of new questions.
You didn't get the call from
no. It's easy for me to stand high because I wasn't invited to Riyadh. Trump did not ask to go on my podcast. Neither did Kamala. But I think, like, we do need to reestablish what our expectations are. And if a comedian is, if Theo Von is going to go on his podcast and cry tears over Palestinian suffering, and then 2 weeks later have J.D. Vance on and joke about how he's going to go hang out at his pool house, I hope that we cultivate an audience that goes, hey, Theo, what the fuck? That's bullshit. I don't buy this. And whatever's in their heart, who really gives a shit? It's about their actions. And I hope that the stink of this Riyadh Comedy Festival is great enough that some comedians are forced to confront kind of where they stand and what the responsibility is to themselves, to comedy, and to their audiences.
We do actually know pretty definitively that being invited to this came with the implicit requirement that you not criticize the Saudi government, because Tim Dillon said he was invited, he had agreed, he was going to take the money, and then he said something about how, yeah, I'm going to overlook the slavery.
They're paying me $375,000 for one show. Now, a lot of other people are getting $1.6 million. That's not me. I'm not in that bracket. But they're giving me $375,000. Others are getting $150,000. Why are they doing it? Here's the point. Okay? I am doing this because they're paying me a large sum of money. They're paying me enough money to look the other way. Do you understand?
And then he got disinvited, which is, I mean, I think what's interesting about that is that, like, it shows that there's, like, a kind of, like, it's not spoken. They didn't tell him when they signed the contract, oh, and this will be canceled if you mention the slavery. But I mean, now
Yes.
everyone's on notice that if they mention the slavery, they'll get canceled. So all of these people, some of whom present themselves as very as real truth tellers, as edgy people, like Jimmy Carr, who loves edgy jokes, is there. Who's the guy with the mustache that I hate, the big thick Andrew, is it?
Andrew Schultz, yes.
That guy. These guys who present themselves as independent figures who, nobody tells them what to say. Like, they have been bought, and they know they've been bought.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Tim Dillon, who half the time I get pissed off by what he does. There's other times I go, well, he's the one who's willing to say, something so critical, albeit in a roundabout way, that it gets him disinvited. I think there's a real honor in a comedian to get disinvited from the political thing, to go to the political thing and be so subversive or so critical that what Michelle Wolf did at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where they canceled it the next year. To me, I go, put her in the legends of comedy, because that's what you do. Now, the problem is I really don't believe, and maybe I'll be mistaken, maybe one of these comedians will go to this festival and be so punchy that they put him in jail and it becomes a whole thing. And you know what? If that happens, I'll go, okay, touche. However, I don't think that will be the case. And I would go furthermore, even if they are subversive, even if they do one Khashoggi joke or one 9/11 joke, ultimately they're being used to present the government there as kind of like chill and fun and engage with us. There's nothing weird going on here. And it's something so brutal of, you could tell a joke to an audience that if they repeated that joke on their own Twitter account, they could be executed. Something about that to me is gross in a way that I think as a comedian you should question your accepting of the booking.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to perform in a country whose government you don't want. It's another thing to be hired by the government as part of an explicit propaganda project that we know the Saudi Arabian government is trying to cultivate an image of normalcy around the world. And we know that what it does is it sports washes by they're like, how much money do we have to pay the world's leading athletes and comedians to conspire to pretend that we're a country that doesn't execute dissidents?
Comedians were never meant to have this much money to begin with. The court jester was never supposed to have a chair next to the king. And that's just kind of where we're at. And there's something beautiful. I mean, listen, I want money. I live in a capitalist world. I want comforts. There's something beautiful about, like, the way I make the majority of my money is there's a number of people that want to see me, and they there's a middleman, of course, but they're paying kind of directly to me to see me, and there's an exchange of goods for money. In this particular realm, it is like the government is giving money to use your face for their own purposes. The show doesn't fucking matter to them. You can bomb, and you still aren't making a statement. They are using your face, and they've been using it for the past month to be like, hey, we're cool. Don't worry about those things that we did. Yeah, it's the same guy in charge who did those things too. Don't worry about it, though.
So you're used to hearing me tell you to subscribe to the print edition of Current Affairs, and you should subscribe to the print edition of Current Affairs. But today I want to talk to you about someone else you should support, because there are friends over at the Majority Report. I find it really, really hard to find intelligent, informed commentary on the news. There's so much bullshit in the world. And we've gotten to know and become friends with the Majority Report because we just really respect the work that they do over there. Sam and Emma and the staff there do fantastic research. They know what they're talking about. They focus on important topics. I've been on their show, and, at a time when so many supposedly independent media outlets are compromised by outside interests, they're not, we're not, and so we stick together. Majority Report is really a beacon of genuine free thought. So we are delighted to partner with them. Their kind of outlet is really rare and special and needs to be supported. And so they've agreed to give our readers a deal on memberships there, and we're giving their listeners in exchange a deal on current affairs subscription. So they are offering, Majority Report with Sam Cedar, offering discount rate for membership there to all current affairs readers, $5 a month for 6 months, and you can use the code current affairs at checkout. And so your membership there keeps the Majority Report possible. It'll give you access to their daily fun half, to all bonus content, commercial free, 5 days a week. First access to discounted live show tickets, first access to limited run merch. So if you join with that special discounted rate, you can support the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. They are unbought and unbossed. And as I say, just personally, we really like them. We really respect them. And it's been great to get to work with them. So support current affairs, read current affairs, but also support all independent left media. And Majority Report is a great example of that.